Hello, listeners. Welcome to yet another special episode of Courage Talks. Special guest today is Vijay Venugopal, founder of Fast&Up, who gave up a pretty thriving corporate career in the pharma industry to go for his inner calling. Welcome, Vijay.
Hey, thanks, Aital. A pleasure to be here.
So, Vijay, a lot of us know what you are today and the fantastic brand that you built, but many might not know, your roots, your growing up days, your childhood days. Why don't you just take us down memory lane, and especially if you have some interesting anecdotes to talk about, what you remember the most about your childhood?
Well, I grew up in a place called Trivandrum, which is the capital of Kerala, and studied in the same school from LKG to 12th, which was my formative years. So the friends that I had during those 14 long years continue to be the closest bonding that I have. Growing up in 80s and 90s had its own charm, I would say. Those days, you had Kerala being one of the most capable sporting states those days, even probably now.
Yeah.
Was a big follower of football,
Yes.
athletics. You had the days of, say, PT Usha, MD Valsamma, Shiny Wilson. I remember getting a holiday for Kerala won the Santosh Trophy in 91 or so. So those were days which were quite different.
Yeah.
But at school, I was more into cricket.
Okay.
So I obviously liked sports, followed sports, but the levels of football and athletics was so high in Kerala that I could never manage to go beyond our immediate horizon of a sub-district that we had.
Right.
So cricket was something that I loved at those days,
Right.
aspired to really play at the highest levels. I managed to break into the junior state team, played for a couple of times at the Kerala state level. In fact, those were the days when Kerala was so much behind in terms of cricket that we used to get battered by the likes of Hyderabad, Karnataka, and Tamil Nadu.
I think that's not changed much, right?
Pardon?
I don't think that's changed much, right?
No, now with IPL coming in, etc.,
IPL,
I think it has been a great leveler. So
Yeah.
if you look at those days, it was always Mumbai, Delhi,
Yeah.
Karnataka, Tamil Nadu. But I think you had Dhoni coming from, say, Ranchi.
Ranchi, yeah.
Some of the players now, like Vaibhav Suryavanshi, comes from Bihar.
Yeah.
Sanju Samson is a revelation from Kerala. So I think things have leveled a little bit.
Yeah.
But those were days when it was good to be associated with sport, etc. And I think Trivandrum is still a place where I like going back to. It still retains the old charm of being that laid back place,
Yeah.
which I frequently miss having lived in multiple other cities and now in Bangalore.
Right. And I believe your father was working at ISRO. Any interesting anecdotes, any stories from your father's work?
I have two younger brothers, and we always talk about the times when my father is so ecstatic about having achieved so many laurels collectively for the nation. When we look at it now, look what VSSC ISRO has done.
Yeah.
We didn't feel the magnitude of it growing up in a family.
Yeah.
When your dad or father goes to work at VSSC every day, the kind of friends that you had whose parents also used to work in ISRO or VSSC, because a lot of the non-Malayali population who have settled down in Trivandrum still are people from across the country.
Yes.
And they all used to go to VSSC or Vikram Sarabhai Space Center.
Right.
And the SLV-3 launches happened.
Yeah.
The ASLV happened. And then it went on. So
Yeah.
only when we went outside of Trivandrum, and maybe in the 2000s, when people started knowing more about what's happening to the space research or the initiatives of India,
Yeah.
only then I think there was this awe factor. So today when I tell somebody that my father used to work in Vikram Sarabhai Space Center, they really respect me for what my father and a lot of his colleagues have done. So I think it gives a sense of pride and privilege as to what that generation of people did for this country.
Right. Very true. You mentioned about your childhood, same school, right? So a lot of my school friends, when they meet me, they're like, when I knew in school, I didn't know what you would become. So do you get that compliment yourself as well?
So I think to an extent, I'm very predictable. So in terms of finer aspects like where you will reach, which city you will settle down in,
Yeah.
those are things you can never predict.
Hmm.
But if somebody meets me, they always knew that I had an interest in sports, right? I would broadly do something like this.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's good or bad, but I think in a way, I would say a little bit more predictable than others.
Right.
So in that way, it is not so much of a surprise.
Got it. The topic is courage talks. What's your definition of courage? Who's your role model for courage?
Very difficult question, Hital. I think courage means a lot of things as growing up, to be honest. While in school, I would say the courage was to stand up to somebody who would come to bully you, for example.
Yeah.
Courage was about speaking the truth when you are probably in a gray area, being called to the teacher's cabin or the principal's cabin.
Yeah.
But I think as you grow, I think the value system remains the same. Courage, I think, even now is the ability to kind of express for what you stand for or what you believe in. A lot of times, I think as we age, we temper down.
Yeah.
And we don't really stand up or express what we really believe in. Right? So I think courage is, for me, the ability to express your values.
Very interesting. Any role models? Whom do you look up for courage?
I have had multiple people that I have had looked up to. I mean, I think it's a very similar thing that a lot of people would say. While in school, I think a lot of seniors I used to look up to. In the contemporary kind of phase, again, sports is something that I go back to always. For me, somebody like Dravid was somebody who I looked up to in terms of what he did, how he did. Today, I think somebody that we chatted a little while back, for example, Djokovic, is somebody that I really admire. So I think there are a lot of people around who I admire, but it's basically the qualities that they kind of bring to the table.
You mentioned predictable, right? And you had an engineering and an MBA start to your corporate career, and you spent about 13 years in the pharma industry. Was it courage that prevented you from doing something different, or something different never struck you before this?
Yeah, I think you are right on that. I think courage is something that we all lacked. Growing up in Kerala, in Trivandrum, very stereotypical engineering or being a doctor, and you're meant to be that. There's no way you can escape that. I still remember one of my very closest friend, a very close friend. His father was a director in Vikram Sarabhai Space Center. And director is a big position those days, literally below the number one or number two. And his son, and while in school, I studied in the school called Loyola School in Trivandrum.
Right.
We had some of our seniors come and give us a career counseling talk on hotel management in 1991.
Right.
Unheard of. And this friend of mine got so fascinated that he didn't pursue engineering. And he went after that.
Okay.
Right. And that was courage. I mean we
true.
never had that ability to kind of think beyond. We knew there was maybe a St. Stephen, for example, or some colleges in Bangalore or in Chennai, which had non-engineering, non-medical kind of subjects. But we never had the seniors who we could look up to. There were no role models. Neither did we have the courage to explore it. So I still feel, Hetal, to be very honest with you, a lot of people who are from this background, this generation of people, still lacked the courage to explore things, even the latter part of their lives. Unlike people who have been brought up in Delhi or in Mumbai, etc., who have explored a lot more things.
Very true. That makes sense. Having said that, I think I totally agree with you, right? I mean, in fact, for us, commerce used to be C-section. So in 11th and 12th, commerce was C-section. And the moment someone has taken commerce, I mean, regardless of his background, regardless of his situation, it was like, okay, he's not good in studies. That's why he took commerce. So it's very unfortunate the way the trend follows. But you had a good corporate life, right? So before we move on to the post-corporate life, and there's a lot to dig in on that, any instances during your work life where you had to really display courage? Any tough moments, any tough decisions, any of your bosses made you dance around when you didn't want to? Any of those instances that comes to your mind?
I don't think there are any standout moments, because by nature, I know that I am a person who typically is flexible, diplomatic, and can work around things. Not necessarily a good thing, to be honest, but somehow a lot of times I do avoid direct confrontation.
Okay.
Which is not good or bad. So it is just the way I am. But if I have to just pull out one thing which I really think I liked or I did something different
Yeah.
was in 2007 or so, while I was working with Lupin Limited in pharmaceuticals. The place to go was US because the generic industry was booming and everyone got attracted to the West and US.
Yeah.
And I went up and asked that I be posted or I will take up an assignment which will take me to China in 2007.
Okay.
And so 2007, 2010 was a period that I went to China. Now, I don't know whether it is good or bad, but
Yeah.
in some ways, I've always tried to swim against the stream, even within the limitations that you have that I explained to you while growing up.
Yeah.
So, in some ways, like Hetal, if you do engineering, you do a GRE, you go to US.
Yeah, that's
Or
right.
in 99, 2000, Y2K was a big thing.
Yeah.
Everyone went into the software industry. So typically, I would say I don't want to do what others in majority are doing.
Right.
But then I think that was a fantastic experience. I think China was something that I couldn't have traded for anything else. It was one of the periods when 2008, the economy went through a flux world over. The Beijing Olympics happened in 2008. A lot of things happened in China between that period. So I think if there was one standout moment, I think for me was that decision that I took there.
I can totally relate to that because I spent 10 years in a country called Japan when the whole world was moving towards US. In fact, my colleagues who were exhausted with Japan were actually moving to US as well. So it's not just that people moving to US wanted to move to US. People in Japan also wanted to move to US. Any standout memories, anything which stood out during your stint in China, anything about the Chinese which still remains with you, anything that you learned there which has kind of stayed with you?
Well, Hetal, that's a lot of things. I don't remember much. It's been a long time for me. But I think the way they kind of built a lot of things, both softer and hard things around the nation, the state, was something which I think a lot of people outside don't really get to know till they spend time there.
Yeah.
I think the way they went around taking pollution out, for example, the Beijing Olympics happened because China had these huge factories, and I came from the pharma sector where we used to buy a lot of fermentation oriented products like penicillin G, etc. And these were big polluters. And the way they cracked down on it with a single point agenda of reducing the pollution was astounding. And for me, in 25, 26, when India is talking about AQI and a lot of things like that, for me, what I saw in 2008 has a lot of relevance.
Right.
Now, you can debate about how do you get there because these are two different structures in place in terms of government and systems. But I think the way they dealt with it and went beyond and today where they are is something amazing. And I think there's a lot for the world to learn.
Very true. No, I agree with you. And I think one thing which I've learned from my limited presence in China is that the rest of the world pities the Chinese far too much than what they really feel about themselves. We tend to believe that, those guys don't have a say. They are all contract laborers who are just grilling themselves in sweatshops all across the country, which is not true, right? I think a far large number of Chinese are actually really enjoying themselves and we should stop pitying them. So you moved away from the predictable track and decided to start your own startup. Tell me what came first, the urge to do something yourself or the urge to make a dent in the nutrition market in the endurance space?
So Hetal, honestly, neither, to be honest.
Okay, there's another story.
So it is just that by 2013, life was getting very predictable. I mean, if you know the pharma industry, it has a very predictable way it evolves. The way you grow up in the ranks and eventually you will get to where you want to get from a professional standpoint.
Yeah.
Right. And if you are in a great company like Lupin, for example, you are already in the top 3 or top 4 of India. There's nothing more that you can ask for. But I think somewhere down my upbringing or inherent characteristic, even though I say I'm predictable in terms of the behavioral traits, the character, etc. But probably it is not true when it comes to what I'm trying to do or what I'm trying to achieve. So I knew for certain that I needed to explore something different. I want some instability. I think it was a little foolish at that point of time to just walk away, and we shifted to Bangalore in 2013. My wife wanted to get back to work. She's a chartered accountant and she wanted to get back to work.
Okay.
And I think she went back to Capgemini in Bangalore.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided to quit and I didn't know what to do, to be honest.
Okay.
It was a different time where imagine you get up in the morning and you don't have anything to do.
Mm-hmm.
And you are just 37, 36, 37. It's not that you have a great bank balance or anything. But I think Bangalore was a place where I think there were more people who already had started getting into startups and stuff like that. So they would not question you if you are to spend your afternoon in the swimming pool. Nobody is going to judge you for that.
Yeah.
Nobody will judge you if you are at the gym at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I think the biggest thing I feel taking those courageous decisions is the fact that we always think about what others will think of you.
Yeah.
And once that part is clear, then I think you are free to do what you want to do.
Very true.
So the nutrition thing happened later.
Okay. So initially, what did you start with?
So between 2013 to 2015, I was generally exploring things, spending more time, not doing much. But I did help one of my friends who was into the education sector.
Okay.
Trying to get engagements done with colleges and schools and early times when even Byju's was just
starting
about
off.
Getting formed, etc. And one of my B school friends had already started into the process of being into the technology sector. So between 2013-15, actually aligned with both of them.
Okay.
And it gave me an idea as to how different things work, because I think these two sectors were something where I had no prior experience. And one more thing, Hetal, I think it really taught me at that point of time was also that if nothing is there around, you still should have the ability to lead life. You still should have the ability to travel by train.
Yeah.
Spend that 10, 12 hours spending time in a sleeper class or an AC, similar to the way you would have spent 4 days traveling from Trivandrum to Delhi in the 90s.
Yeah.
I think this is something that I think stands good for people throughout their lives. I think those 2 years, I think fundamentally taught me that.
And how did the nutrition thing come about? And if you want to share the running journey before that, over to you. I mean, you already.
No, I think it's both are in a way intertwined, I would say.
Okay.
So I think running started in 2012 or so, 13, while I was in Pune.
Yeah.
Transition happened, and 2013 to 15, I still was running. But as you know, I had a healthcare pharmaceutical background. I had an interest in sports. I had acquired some amount of business skill sets.
Mm-hmm.
So the nutrition journey happened because I had folks or people who already were into a healthcare company and wanted to do something in the consumer space. And here I was doing a casual conversation with my ex-boss in Lupin.
Yeah.
Was explaining to him that I'm not doing much these days, but I do run. I have done a couple of marathons, and I feel that you guys have a lot of potential if you probably get energy gels, for example, imported into the country. Because every time I see Mumbai Marathon happening, friends are scrambling for getting those energy gels and whatnot, GU. And because I knew during those conversations that they had already acquired a company, a small boutique company in Europe, which had some capabilities.
Okay.
And also they had some expertise in energy gels. So I was telling them that you should import a container of energy gels before the Mumbai Marathon, and it'll be a hot seller.
Okay.
So one thing led to another, and he was very gracious to tell me that why don't we start a separate venture where we concentrate on business to consumer.
Yeah.
And we build Fast&Up together.
Okay.
And in fact, it was then that me and his son, Varun Khanna, who had already started his own venture in healthcare in 2011, 10, 11, we joined together to get this initiative on. So I think it is plus my friend who I was associated with on the technology front, he was kind enough to help me in that process. Because when you haven't gone through those avenues at the age of, say, 40, which I was in 2015, it is not something that comes through overnight. So I think it was a lot of destiny happening at that point of time, a lot of skill sets happening, being there at the right time, right place, and obviously having the courage to jump in.
How did the name Fast&Up come about?
So we didn't want to think too much. So Fast&Up was there already.
Okay, got it.
With that European boutique company called Novelty Pharma.
Yeah.
So we didn't really think, because we found it attractive, and the logo was, we were guys who wanted to get into the business. So
Yeah.
those were not days of marketing, branding, and we never came from that background, to be honest.
Yeah.
All my life in healthcare and pharmaceuticals, I was into the B2B, where I sold active pharmaceutical ingredients to the formulators. So for us, product was the king, right?
Got it.
So we wanted to cut short everything and get into the market. We already had the logo, we already had the name. Let's get in.
And I believe that while the concept and the idea was something that you were very confident about, but the market did not absorb the product overnight like fish absorb water, right? You had instances of setting up stalls at 6 a.m. and running events trying to sell the product or trying to promote the product. So walk us through some of those tough experiences that you had to go through.
So, Hetal, I think what we had was, we had what we had. There was nothing more. We had exactly 3 products when we launched. One was what we termed the pre-workout, which was Activate. Then we had a Recover, which was full of amino acids. And we had the energy gel, which somebody else used to manufacture, we could import.
Okay.
And it was in effervescent format. So we had to make it successful. There was nothing that we could go back and say, I need it in a different format.
Okay.
I need it in a tablet format or capsule format, because we believed that if the product is good and if you had backward integration into manufacturing and if you are passionate enough, we could make it successful, right? The only thing that we added was, from insight that I got from the market, was the electrolyte, which is Reload, which today is one of the biggest products that we had. The insight that we had was that if we needed to have a breakthrough into the masses or the community, we needed to have a simple product which could be accepted by everyone. And that was an electrolyte, and hence Reload. But having a format like effervescent in 2015 was a sure shot to failure, because no one knew about it. And going back to my China days, for example, in China, injectables was the king. Nobody takes tablets or capsules. If you have fever, get a paracetamol injection done, because they believed in injections. India was more of a powder, tablet, capsule kind of place. And if it's sports nutrition, it's always going to be powder. So for us, even the very fact that it was an effervescent format, a tablet, was a challenge in itself. So during those days, we decided that we had these 3-4 products. Our cohort is running, because me and a couple of us, we were into running. That's all the market that we knew. We didn't employ any big market research companies or anything. We knew that if runners wanted to have electrolytes, they could potentially have ours. Energy gels, they could potentially have ours. And we introduced a segment of a pre-workout, post-workout kind of concept. And we went all in. Now, the only way we could market in those days, apart from having our website on, was to go to the community. And we had the launch in Sofitel in Mumbai.
Right.
We called around 40 people pan-India who were at that time known in the running and triathlon community. A lot of them were cold calls, because I didn't know anyone. Nobody knew me at that point of time. So I had interesting stories where people would just shoo us away. There were a few people who didn't come to that event because they didn't know who we were. It was held in a decent place, was ready to bear the flight charges, and yet they didn't want to turn up. So the same thing continued during some activations, for example. I remember incidents even in a place like Mumbai. Go there morning 6:30. Remember, the Mumbai Roadrunners used to have those Sunday once in the first week run that they had from Bandra to NCPA. People used to pass a lot of obnoxious comments on the format itself. Right? Who will take a tablet? Because people didn't know it had to be dissolved in the water. But I think at those times, you just need to have the courage to be there, stay patient, and then keep knocking. And go back, spend those hours, 4 o'clock, 6 o'clock with them, and slowly the confidence builds in.
Right.
And that's what we did in at least 2 of the major cities, Mumbai and Bangalore.
Right.
Mumbai because the head office was there, and Bangalore because that's where I lived.
Right. So, couple of tough moments that you mentioned about. One sporting gesture or someone unexpectedly turned out to be very strong support for you. Anyone you remember?
Well, if I have to look back, if I have to ever thank somebody, one of them up there It is a gentleman named Shankar Basu. He was the India strength and training conditioning coach. I mean, a lot of people say that he was the man behind the transformation of Virat Kohli. So it was in 2016 or so when somehow we got connected. We were a nobody, and he took a leap of faith in trying out the Fast&Up effervescent tablets.
Okay.
And I still remember the time when we had supplied the first consignment for a match which was happening between India and England to their hotel in Mumbai, Trident. And on the day of the match, he calls me and asks me, Vijay, are you sure this is clear of all banned substances? Because at that point of time, we didn't have the informed choice or informed sport.
True.
I said, all clear. We manufacture it in our own factory. Go ahead and use it. And the rest is history, because once the Indian team started using it, it just percolated down. And you had all the state teams using, you had all the IPL teams using. So whatever we are there in cricket, I think it's a lot expedited.
Got it.
Because of that moment and the leap of faith that he showed in somebody like us.
Got it.
And I think you need those moments.
Of course, true.
Even if you are sincere, you are knocking at the doors, you need those people to kind of have the trust in you.
Very true, very true. So, couple of related questions. Were you just targeting the existing running market when you conceptualized the need for Fast&Up? Or did you have some kind of a foresight that the running as a sport is going to grow as much as it has? That's question one. Second, to which is sort of related, is did cricket happen unexpectedly, or did you already foresee the usage of gels in other sports as well, and you were not heavily dependent on it succeeding in running alone?
Hetal, even from day one, our dream or desire or goal was to kind of cater to the active population in India, and also at some point in time be one of the leading players from India supplying to global markets. That was the overarching theme. Running was just because that is the only thing that we knew at that point of time. You needed to have confidence in one small cohort.
Yeah.
And as I said, a few of the people who started knew running more than any other sport. And one of the things that excites anybody from Mumbai is to be on that board when Mumbai Marathon happens. So it's always a dream that one can go after pretty easily.
That's true.
So that is point one. So if you look at Fast&Up today, we have traversed the entire journey, and today we are much beyond running. We cater to the active population. We have products across. We cater to almost 30-35 countries across the world and all that. Coming to point two, I think 2015-16, if you're an outsider, you always think cricket is a sport which is way too expensive, which has the biggest rock stars in the world, extremely unapproachable, right? And these were the things that you get.
Yeah.
So you would, as a small company, you would not even dare to go near them. So cricket happened very incidentally, I would say, coincidentally. I mean, some of the doors that I knocked during those times was a few doors where I could rely on, given my sporting earlier background. And cricket was one of them. So quick anecdote is that I through a friend of mine who used to work as a team management person in Chemplast, which is one of the large business houses and runs one of the successful clubs in Chennai cricket. Got a evening session going with some of the physios and nutritionists in Chennai. And incidentally, most of the people who came in there were all associated with cricket. Told them about the product, etc. And then it percolated to multiple people, and Basu being one of them.
Okay. The other thought which was coming to my mind was the fact that you had a pretty standard corporate job and then you moved to running a startup. Did you adjust to it very comfortably, or did it take time to adjust?
Not really.
You had because 2 years of, what they call gardening leave kind of a thing.
No, so I think maybe I didn't face it too much, because when we started off, it was more driven by passion, interest. You work with people I knew already with shared vision and shared value system. It was not a dream, at least personally for me, it was not a dream to build a $X million company at that point of time.
Got it.
So you turn up every day morning because you love it. And from that perspective, I think it was something which needed very little adjustment. You had a lot of freedom to experiment. You had a lot of freedom to take decisions, go after targets, etc. So I think in that sense, I was lucky.
Coming to the Mumbai Marathon story, I know it got very popular. I mean, you started banging on the doors in 2016, and I think in 2020 is finally you were able to get in. What was the experience like? And,
So I think more than me, I think Varun, he really wanted to be there at the Mumbai Marathon. And for me, it was more of being objective, right? You have Mumbai Marathon, you have other events. You could probably go to other events as well, and then Mumbai later, etc. So we knocked on the doors right after 3-4 months after having incorporated a company. In fact, we invited Mr. Vivek Singh, who is the managing director, founders of Procam, to our launch at Sofitel, and he graciously agreed, and he was there. We had a meeting with their team. We knew that at that point of time, I think Enerzal was probably, their agreement was getting over. We pitched in. I mean, the amounts that they were asking was high, but something which we could chew if we extend it a little bit. But I think being a new brand, not there in the market, probably they didn't have the courage.
Yeah.
So it went to ORSL. And meanwhile, we started building our inroads into the community.
Right.
Made Fast&Up a household name in running. And there, the cycle got over somewhere in 2019 or so, when we went back and started knocking at their doors. And at that point of time, I think it was the right time for us to get in. The brand had become reasonably large in the running community. The commercials were in place. They liked us, we liked them, and we got going. And so TCS Bangalore 10K 2019 was the first time that we got in. But I think before that, I think we also had partnered with Hyderabad Marathon, which was a prestigious marathon by then. So I think that also gave a lot of people that courage to partner with Fast&Up.
Coming to your running journey, you just cracked a 247 at New York. You have a stellar record of achieving all 6 world majors in a sub-3 timing. Did you really think this to be possible, or have you inched towards it? Do you really think it's as easy as you make it look, or there's a lot of work which goes behind your running preparation?
A lot of questions there, but I always knew that I would want to be competitive to myself. Right? So that always was there. So I think 2016 April was when I first breached the sub 3 hour mark. And then things went on. COVID happened, hit a plateau. To 2022, I had an injury while doing the New York Marathon. So at that point of time, honestly, I never ever thought that I would be able to get better than what I was before. And that was simply the honest answer. There was no way I could get better. I mean, I was going to be 50 in 2025. There's no way you can get better when you're aging. But I think, as I said, I'm predictable, consistent, would turn up for those training runs, etc. My daughter had taken up running. And both of us went to Kenya in 2023, March or so, spent 20 days. I was still having an injury, so I couldn't run there much. But saw a lot of things happening. Changed a little bit of my thought process of running as such. I think it's after that, 2023 mid or so, that I reinvented, in a way, kind of reborn. And I think one thing led to the other. And suddenly you get the feeling that the limits that you think are not really the limits. You can actually stretch it a little bit more. So I don't know what will happen maybe in a month or 2 from now. But I think that's the belief that I still have, that I can still get that extra minute off or a few minutes off. Till the time that belief is there, and I think you can wake up every day and do those a few hours of work. I think you are in a good shape.
So a lot of people describe life as a marathon. A lot of people say running a startup is like running a marathon. And you happen to do both, run a startup and a marathon. So has your endurance running helped you to be better at entrepreneurship, or vice versa?
So I think both, Hital. I think in a way, if I look back, I always liked test matches. I could bat for 50 balls, scoring 3 runs.
Like your idol, Rahul Dravid.
Yeah, which I've actually done in a under 16 match against Tamil Nadu. I've done it even while I was in Lupin playing some corporate matches. Could frustrate the opposition as if it's nobody's business. I think running in a way kind of mirrored that, especially the long distance running. In a way, I think business, even in work or being with Fast&Up, getting that off the ground has probably mirrored that. Otherwise, it's very difficult to explain you going through that 5-6 years of initial phase of building a brand when all that you have is a few people around you. You just need to turn up every day, knocking on the doors. I think it all rubs off on each other. And I think sport, running, marathons have indeed played a big role in what I am or what I would have done from a startup or a new initiative perspective.
While we know ourselves very well, being a part of someone else's running journey, convincing a non-runner to achieve a milestone is quite gratifying. And you did that for your wife recently. Why don't you just walk through that journey in terms of, how did she end up finally agreeing to start running, and where has she reached, and how did you get that turnaround happen?
It's never easy when your spouse or wife is not into running because you're spending so many hours outside.
Yeah. Sometimes there is a doubt whether it's really running or something else is going on.
And
how can you love running so much?
So there have been numerous occasions where there have been tension and times of stress. In fact, if you go back to...
But the advantage of being a runner is when you have a fight, you can always run away.
Yeah, but you still have to come back. And you have to spend the rest of the day
in the same room, in the same house.
The same room, right?
Yeah.
So I think if I used to write blogs those days once in a while in 2015.
Yeah.
So one of my blogs mentions that before I hit that sub 3, I'd in fact jokingly promised to my wife that if ever I hit a sub 3, I will stop running. Because I knew it will never happen.
That's a good one.
But then sub 3 happened, and then
around that time, what were you timing as?
I jumped from 3:14 to sub 3.
But so at that time you were at 3:14 when you said you can't get to a sub.
Yeah, but not many people had done sub 3s.
Yeah.
And you knew that
still not many people do it.
and you know that it won't come easily. It will take 3-4 years. And we'll see at that point of time. 4 years is long, right? 3-4 years is long.
Yeah.
So I had this love-hate relationship when it came to running. And then my daughters got into running. I tried pushing them to cricket. They didn't take it up. So my elder daughter still pursues running, and she went on to represent the state at the national mid-distance under 16, under 19 kind of competitions. So the whole family had taken up to running. Severely competitive. Always talking about this time, that time, etc. And Pavitra used to really get annoyed with all this. And she used to love more of the CrossFit, hybrid fitness, much before High Rocks came into the picture. But we never used to give credit to those people who followed that.
Yeah.
So she did start early. I mean, I think 2018, 19 a little bit. But somehow I think it fell off. Never an easy thing, to be honest. And especially when I think being a close family member, it is very difficult to give advices and to give consolation and motivation. You can easily do it to somebody you are mentoring or coaching. But when it is your wife or a daughter, it becomes a little difficult.
Yeah, very true.
I face the same issues. But somewhere in the last 2 years, I think Pavitra herself, wanted to do it. Because she said she started enjoying it a little bit more. And I think by the time High Rocks had come in, and she wanted to do well there, and it had 8 segments of running there, and she knew she could do it. And slowly, bit by bit, she could take out those issues of comparison, etc. And she wanted to do it for herself. And when that moment happened, I was ready to jump in and was ready to be part of that journey.
Right.
In fact, I actively kind of helped her go through the process, gave her a plan, kind of talked to her almost every day on what happened with her running, etc.
Yeah.
And in fact, a few of my goals that I have right now, one of them that I've told her is, I have done all the 6 majors. I would like to cheer her when she does a marathon at different points of the race. That's exactly what she used to do when she used to see me, say, do a London marathon.
Right.
Or a New York marathon, where she used to take the train or the metro and be at 3 or 4 places cheering me.
I know that's not easy.
That's not easy. So one of the things that I have told her and I look forward to doing is cheering her on her first marathon that she would be doing.
Wow, that's awesome. And any date timelines for that?
No, I think we don't really put strict timelines. I mean, I'm sure she will do it in a couple of years or so, and we'll enjoy that process.
So how did your running license get renewed after you already achieved that sub 3?
I think...
I don't know if I'm digging some honest nets and she's going to look at this episode and say, oh my God, yes.
I think as men and runners, we are good in evading questions. And as I told you, I would like to avoid confrontation. So whenever those points used to come in, you always have a way of avoiding that point.
Yeah.
But I think what has happened in the recent past is, I think she has a lot more pride in what I have done than what I myself have.
Right.
It's something similar to what we discussed before this podcast.
Yeah.
So I would just brush things off. But I think she has that innate sense of pride at what I have achieved,
Yeah.
what my daughters achieve. And I think that's a very fabulous, inert character to have. And I think that actually has rubbed off on her own ambitions and goals.
Yeah.
And I think she wants to do it not just for us, but for herself. And I think at the end of the day, I think when somebody thinks that I want to do it for myself, then I think nobody can stop you from doing that.
Very true. You're among the rare breeds who has a specific time target for your marathon and actually are breaking it handsomely. So hats off to you. But the masses always believe, oh, don't go after time, enjoy the run, run for the joy of running and all. So when you actually mentor or guiding someone, how do you try to not put that same pressure onto the other person and tell him or her, like your wife, that, okay, just run for the fun of running and don't look at the time, don't compare yourself and what you could have done and all that?
Valid question. So for me, I have those times not as a source of pressure, stress, or tension. It's just as a goal for me to go after.
Right.
But I think the process is what is more important. And during that process, there is no pressure, no tension.
Yeah.
And I firmly believe that if you do the training properly, the work properly, the result or whatever you are aiming for follows.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think for me, I'm very clear I'm not doing ultras. I will do marathons, at least for time being. I have time as a goal because that gives joy to me. So if somebody else finds joy running ultras or by enjoying the run, so be it. It's good for them. I find data or the time that a Garmin shows or a Coros shows, I think it's a wonderful aid to you getting better. So looking at the times doesn't necessarily mean that you are not enjoying. It's only helping you get through the process.
Got it.
That's the way I see it. So when I'm mentoring or coaching people, I still say take it as a help, but don't get too excited about sticking to that exact second. It doesn't matter. And that's one of the things that I have learned after coming back from Kenya in that 2023 phase. I have tried to run so differently. And that has really helped me go through the process the way it has happened.
In terms of the daily workout schedules, are they, for you, there is a religious that you do a workout every day? Does it vary when a run is coming up? How do you plan your time?
So last couple of years, apart from when I've done a full marathon, I take a break of maybe a month or 2 months or so, when absolutely no running or a little bit of whatever I want to do, etc.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I'm broadly running 6 days a week.
Okay.
2 days of quality sessions. And today I'm experienced enough to tinker with it. So if I'm traveling, I would maybe shift my easy day to the day of the travel. When I'm away, I would do my easy run, say Mumbai or Delhi. When I'm back at the base, I would do my quality sessions and make sure that the fatigue doesn't come in. So that's my broad template. 2 days of strength training and making sure that you don't get injured. The slightest instance of something going wrong, at least step back or seek professional advice.
A lot of courage is demonstrating vulnerability. Any instance in your work life, in your entrepreneur life, or in your running life, when you could not hold back your emotion and you cried in public?
Crying is a manifestation of your vulnerability expression. So I think crying is something that I may not have done much.
Yeah.
But vulnerable times and expressing it umpteen times. Right. I think I've spoken a lot about wanting to go back to New York and getting that sub 3. I failed twice in 2019 and 22. Literally walked both the times. Never felt as miserable as I could have. So that's on the running side. So when I had that injury, L4, L5 kind of disc extrusion, sometimes you feel that whether you can get back to being your best or not. Yeah, that's a sense of vulnerability at that point of time. Right. There are times now with every passing month or year, I know that this is not going to stay. your times are going to get slower. And that's a sense of vulnerability that you have. Coming to professional life, see, at the end of the day, I firmly believe, Ethel, that all that you do, even being known in the community because of the association with Fast&Up, is momentary. 15 years from now, you would be forgotten. Why 15 years? 5 years? At the end of the day, I think you need to be comfortable in that world of obscurity, anonymity, and having those simple things of life going on and on. And that's where I think I come from to a large extent. So I think vulnerable, yes, but I may not show it much. So when people tell me that you tell something or you execute paces very evenly, I mean, yeah, I do it, but it's backed on a lot of training.
Got it.
And there are moments of vulnerability. I know that maybe sometimes it may not happen, but I think I would at least give it my best shot.
Any regrets?
No regrets in that sense. But I think as people who are pushing, I would say, a lot of excellence in terms of sports, especially in the amateur running community, at least for me, I still feel if I can roll back time to when I was young,
Yeah.
maybe when I was in the teens and 20s, if I had trained the same way, with the same intensity, then in a game like cricket, I may have pushed my luck a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because I think today we train as good as an elite would
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
And imagine if we had done the same 30 years back.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we would have discovered that maybe we would have at least done something different.
Yeah, I might have been speaking to the Indian cricket captain.
No, I don't say that, but
Yeah. No, you never know. Yeah,
you never know. But I still respect a lot of people who represent their state for cricket, even in a Ranji Trophy game.
Yeah.
Because I know how difficult it is to break into that
Very true.
11.
Yeah, I know the numbers are obscene. Yeah.
Yeah, you can probably get into the best of colleges in the country.
Yeah.
But if you have to get into that Ranji Trophy team, it's insanely difficult.
So true. Here's the trick question. You have a marathon tomorrow and there are no Fast&Ups around. Which gel would you choose?
I love
in India.
I love Morton and SIS.
Okay.
SIS because it was one of the first inspirational brands I came across in 2013-14.
Yeah.
A lot of things we thought about in Fast&Up in the early years were centered around that. Morton just because they've come and pushed that envelope in terms of innovation.
Very interesting. Any book, web series or movie that inspires you?
So the first thing that I have to say, Hetal, is that I think reading is a great thing. I lost out. So now I'm coming back into that.
Sure.
Two of my books that I probably read recently, something that I can give people a quick shout out. One is Being Mortal by Dr. Atul Gawande.
Yeah.
Excellent book. I think a lot of things that I read now is more towards longevity, old age, and how to deal with that phase, etc. And I think this book reflects very well, especially when you have your parents in that stage of your life, how to deal with that.
True.
And one of the other books that my school senior gave me on September 13th, which was my birthday last year, 50th birthday, was a book, Courage to be Disliked, which is again a fantastic book, which in a way also is an antithesis to what a little I am, because you want to be kind of have that non-confrontationist kind of attitude.
Yeah.
But I think that in a way, I think the last 10 years, what I'm proud of is also that I've led life on my own terms. And I think I'm hoping that can do that in the future. And this book is something which speaks about that.
Wonderful.
So I think these two books currently, because I'm proud of having finished a couple of books in a span of 3-4 months.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And I always value book suggestions from people who don't read too much, because they would have absorbed those books much better than people who would have read many books. They would be like, tossing around between different titles. That's what I am.
Yeah, it's a nightmare to read some heavy books like this.
Yeah, that's true. It's been wonderful talking to you, Vijay, and thanks a lot for walking us through your journey, and highly inspiring and highly motivating stuff that you're doing both on Fast&Up and on your running journey. And what's next? Sub 230 or?
That needed me to roll back into that 20 years kind of thing. But I think immediate goals, I have a Cape Town marathon coming.
Okay, wonderful.
In May. And I think 245 is gettable.
Wonderful.
I don't know when, it may not happen.
Yeah.
But maybe someday I would want to try and see if I can do that.
And you're looking at Sydney, the 7th star as well?
So maybe next year, because this year the commitments, my daughter is getting into 10th and it happens in August. If you go to Australia, spend 2 weeks, 3 weeks there. So that's why I thought Cape Town now.
Okay.
And maybe next year to Sydney. But I think there are a lot of options now, Ethel, to do things. I think I'm comfortable doing marathons now because I always think that you can either go deep, or you can traverse the width. I enjoy doing the depth.
Great, Vijay. Thank you very much. It was wonderful talking to you. All the very best.
Thank you, Ethel.